again to everyone. So, in this lecture, we are going to talk about contemporary leadership in nursing practice, an integrated framework of confidence, legal accountability, competence, and professional ethics. The purpose of this lecture or presentation is for us to be able to redefine what it means to be a nurse leader in today's healthcare environment. So, we are going to bridge two critical pillars of contemporary nursing: the jurisprudential or legal accountability, which is the focus of Luan Singh, and clinical or psychological readiness, which is represented by Ray and Kitson. Modern leadership is not just about holding an administrative title, but it is about the intersection of ethical duty, the legal safety, the personal, clinical competence, and the self-efficacy that is required to deliver safe and evidence-based care. Ang healthcare system now are increasingly becoming very demanding. So a leader must master the legal framework or what we call the jurisprudence that dictates what a nurse can legally do, while at the same time simultaneously building the cognitive resilience and psychological safety that is required to execute those actions confidently. Okay. Let us think of a nurse who has gone into break and returned as an ICU nurse after, let's say, for example, 5 years of break. So legally, their license are still valid, okay? But psychologically, their subjective feeling of confidence might be depleted or compromised. So under contemporary leadership, the leader will address both the sides of this coin, the legal implication and the psychological or the subjective side of the nurse. So this slide will act as the transition point, okay? Because historically, leadership in nursing is viewed as hierarchical or it is viewed as rigid and administrative, focused only on shift schedules and top-down directives. But today, leadership is more of relational. It is active and integrated into every level of point of care in nursing. So, traditional models isolated leadership to the nurse manager office, while this contemporary paradigm positions every bedside nurse as a clinical leadership. So, we are bridging theoretical jurisprudence, or meaning knowing the law, with clinical practice or doing the work under stress. Okay. To make it clearer, for example, a bedside nurse noticed an incorrect dosage of a high alert medication. So it is not just doing their job, but that act alone, they are becoming actively exercising clinical leadership by identifying the error or intercepting an error and advocating for the patient and managing the interdisciplinary communication required to correct the error or to correct the problem which occurred on bedside. Here, we are going to contrast and integrate the two key dimensions of contemporary nursing leadership: relational competence and ethical jurisprudence. Relational competence viewed leadership that starts from within. It centers on relational team structure, self-efficacy, and building of confidence. Under this, leaders are responsible for cultivating environments of psychological safety where nurses can ask questions or even admit about their knowledge gaps and receive safe mentoring without fear of being humiliated. While ethical jurisprudence, here leadership is defined by legal accountability, patient advocacy, and adherence to professional standards. So to lead, a nurse must operate strictly within the legal bounds of the Nurse Practice Act, like RA 9173 in the Philippines and the International Council of Nurses or ICN Code of Ethics. So under relational competence, as an example, let's use an example. Under relational competence, a charge nurse will hold bridging people during the morning, for example, starting the morning. The nurse will bridge people together to collaborate, align, and solve problem together, rather than just standing from a distance, observing and telling the nurses what to do and assess who is feeling overwhelmed and reallocate clinical support bodies. While for ethical jurisprudence, the same charge nurse will refuse to delegate uh, some process or some task to a newly hired nurse who is not yet or who has not completed the competency required by the institution, protecting both the patient and the nurse's legal license. So from these two examples, you will see that under relational competence, the charge nurse is focused on the, supporting the newly hired or the novice nurse, while the ethical jurisprudence will refuse to delegate or support a newly hired nurse and refuse to delegate certain tasks until such time that this newly hired nurse is certified already to perform a particular task. Okay. Now, moving forward, this is the slide, rebuilding confidence and skills, will focuses on return to practice or the RTP and transition to practice pathway. When nurses undergo career breaks, clinical transitions or move to new specialties happen. They they experience a sharp drop in self-confidence. So the competency gap identify that while technical skills, for example, yung sharpshooter ka, yung inserting an IV, are quickly recovered. Cognitive skills like rapid clinical reasoning or yung very fast clinical reasoning during a patient decline will require intentional structured coaching. So, an assessor and supervisor role is very important in contemporary leadership because here leaders must move away from the nurse eat their young or what we call the bullying mentality and actively design peer mentorship channels. That's how they rebuild confidence and skill. Okay, for example, a hospital who is implementing a transition to practice toolkit where returning nurses are paired with clinical bodies or those who are more senior for at least, for example, 6 weeks or 5 weeks, ganon. They will body together. So instead of a high pressure evaluation, the focus is on reflective feedback, which allow the returning nurse to discuss their anxiety about clinical decision making in a well structured, non punitive environment, which promotes or which motivates them more to express how they exactly feel. Here in this slide, the legal safeguards and practice scope, we are going to discuss or go deep into the legal realities. Every nursing action has a direct legal consequences or consequence. Contemporary leadership requires a clear understanding of the legal safeguards that protect patients and staff. So, as a leader, the dual obligation of a nurse must execute, for example, a doctor's order while simultaneously acting as an independent professional. Diba? If a doctor orders an unsafe dose or a wrong dosage, executing that order will make the nurse legally co-liable. Okay. Under the standard of care, the legal baseline of what a reasonably prudent nurse would do in a similar clinical situation is for them to act based on the legal standards of nursing practice. So the leader must ensure that their unit or their department strictly monitor and enforce these clinical standards. So what they will do or what they can do is to properly double check for correct dosage. Okay. An example. Example, a doctor demands a nurse to administer a sedative medication without written or at least a digital order during a non-emergency situation. A contemporary leader will politely but firmly refuse to do the order and cite the legal standard of practice and institutional policy. This will shield the hospital, the patient, and their own career from potential negligence lawsuit. Okay. Nurse as a change agent. Nurses are basically on the front lines of healthcare, or they are in the front line of healthcare innovation and organizational change. In this slide, this will detail how contemporary leaders that is utilize the Kurt Lewin's classic three-step change model to implement new clinical workflows. This has been discussed also in our previous lecture. So the three the three step uh, the three step being used or the three-step change model being used by Kurt Lewin is to focus on unfreeze, change, and refreeze model. When we say unfreeze, this means we disrupt the comfortable zone. We challenge the outdated clinical habits. and show the team why the current method is unsafe or inefficient. Remember, most of the team members are already comfortable in doing this. So referee's step is focused on solidifying the new habit or introducing the new habit, integrating it into regular audit or checklist, standard operating procedures, and formulate a reward structure so that the team will be encouraged and will no longer slide back into their old routines. Okay. Now, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention the change. Now, going back to change, change is the transition state which provides the training, the support, and the writing policy. So during the change, this is where principles of building confidence is very critical as itong changes na to will definitely cause anxiety. However, if you become very effective on initiating the change or the changes that you want to implement, the reprise as step will become easier. Okay, so talking about the uh, unfreeze, change, and reprise, let's use the transitioning from paper charting to an electronic health record system. Here, uh, the challenge will be on those more senior nurses, those who are retiree, those who has never used a computer or technology in their charting. So during unfreeze, a contemporary nurse will show how many transcription errors occurred for the last periods or for example for the last quarter because of illegible handwriting, yung mga parang wave ng ECG. Now, under change, a contemporary nurse will provide intensive hands-on computer labs or yung uh, ito yung body system using in the use of technology every shift and using validation of clinical confidence. Now, referees, once this confidence has built and they become confident already in using the new technology, referees will be disabling the old paper flow sheets entirely. And probably it will be better to recognize the department who will achieve 100% EHR compliance during the weekly audit because this will boost the confidence of nurses in the use of new technology. This slide visualizes the three interconnected identities of a modern nurse as caregiver, advocate, and manager. Okay. Caregiver is about clinical mastery. This role is grounded in the science of healthcare. It is the application of evidence-based nursing interventions, pathophysiology, and psychomotor skills to alleviate suffering and promote health to patients. Being advocate is focused on ethical and legal mastery. This is grounded in the jurisprudence framework which protect the patient's rights to self-determination or autonomy, informed consent, and privacy or confidentiality. Now, as a manager, this is about relational mastery, which is grounded on leadership principles, coordinating clinical workflows, delegating safely within legal scopes, resolving team conflicts, and managing personal and team stressors. Okay, let us consider an oncology patient or a cancer patient who wants to refuse medication or chemotherapy, but receives pressure, of course, from the family to continue. So if you are a contemporary nurse and you act as a caregiver, you can do this by managing the patient's immediate pain and physical symptoms. If you are a nurse who acts as an advocate, what you can do is to arrange a private meeting clarifying the patient's true wishes and ensuring the medical team respects their autonomous refusal of treatment. Now, if you are a nurse acting as a manager, you can do this by coordinating the transition to home care or to home hospice care and ensuring that the family is supported through the psychological shift because the patient already is refusing to continue treatment. Confidence and competence are not static qualities. They are dynamically fostered through professional support, reflective feedback, and continuous engagement. This quote highlights the dynamic nature of nursing competence. Competence is not static. It is not a fixed test score or a certificate earned years ago or decades ago, but it is an active, continuously nurtured state of professional self-belief. Psychological capital comprises hope, efficacy, resilience, and optimism. And a high psychological capital in nurse leaders directly translates to lower burnout and reduce clinical errors in their area. True confidence is built when clinical errors or near misses are discussed openly. If they are analyzed reflectively and translated into learning experiences rather than being punitive or using this into a form of punitive write-ups. So instead of penalizing a nurse who made a medication error or near miss, a contemporary clinical leader will conduct a non-judgmental but reflective debrief. Okay. So if you are a leader, you can say, let's trace back what environmental distractions led to this moment and how we can reinforce your confidence in handling high volume medication administration rounds. Continuing professional development or CPD is not just a recommendation, but it is a legal statutory requirement, especially here in the Philippines. In this slide, we are going to discuss the intersection of statutory obligations and lifelong clinical learning. The CPD mandates under modern nursing law such as yung RA 10912 or the CPD Act of 2016 in the Philippines or similar global board registries where nurses must accumulate a designated number of CPD units, at least 15 credit units, during each renewal cycle of your license to make your license active. Okay. This legal mechanism forces us to continuously upskill, ensuring that our old debunked clinical habits will be replaced with contemporary and evidence-based practices. Okay. So, a nurse leader will coordinate monthly in-service educational seminar. Example nito, yung pinakamadali is yung mga cardiac life support, yung mga recertification or some workshops that you think is necessary to upskill the nurses, which has a pre-approved CPD points so that it will be easy and accessible for your nursing staff to maintain both legal compliance and clinical competence. Let's talk about traditional versus contemporary model. So let's summarize it. So this slide will be the comparative table that summarizes the structural transition from old school task-oriented nursing model to modern relational and legally proactive care leadership. Okay. Under power structure, traditional nursing relied on an autocratic or rigid hierarchy or yung mga style na do it because I said so. Contemporary nursing here is flat, collaborative, and peer supported. Primary care shifted from purely delegating tasks to actively building people, such as coaching, mentoring, addressing burnout, and building psychological capital. Jurisprudence focus shifted from defensive nursing or the period of acting solely out of fear of being sued or reprimanded into being proactive advocacy, using the law as shield to enforce patient rights and maintain professional clinical standards. Competence assurance shifted from relying on initial academic credentials to requiring verified continuous professional development or yung mga CPD-guided progression. A traditional supervisor under the contemporary model, or let's differentiate. A traditional supervisor might reprimand a nurse publicly, for example, if they are late in their documentation. While a contemporary leader will pull the nurse aside, meaning privately, and notices they had a highly unstable patient, validates their prioritization of patient safety over paperwork, and assign and assist to help them being able to catch up. So let us, this is a visual illustration of the ideal balancing act of a modern nurse leader. And to be effective, one cannot just excel in one clinical skills while neglecting the law, nor can one know the law perfectly but lack relational team skills. So let's analyze this breakdown. Let's talk about the integration of skills. Clinical competence is 95%, which is mastery of evidence-based therapeutics and clinical reasoning. Ethical and legal jurisprudence is 90%, which is the deep comprehension of scopes, malpractice laws, and patient advocacy. Relational team synergy is 85%. This is focus on effective communication, peer mentoring, and conflict resolution. Change agency, 80%. The ability to navigate organizational disruptions using structured theories like Kurt Lewin's. So, an excellent clinical nurse who struggles to work within a team or constantly violates documentation standards will eventually fail. A contemporary leadership or a contemporary leader will focus on training targets of all four of these areas simultaneously during onboarding and annual evaluations. Okay, so these are the sources, reference, and images of this discussion. So that concludes our presentation. And this presentation is anchored on two prominent publications to ensure that our discussion stands on a solid, peer-reviewed academic foundation. So again, thank you very much for listening.